Hello, my name is Michael Leeton. After the George Floyd incidents, there has been an interest in social justice and racial equality, and I've been asked to give my story 4 or 5 different times, so I figured I'd capture it on film, give you my story of growing up as a black man in America. I was raised in South Central Los Angeles. If you're not familiar with that, that's where the Blood and Crips gangs originated. That's where gangster rap and sagging pants started. But I didn't really get involved in all of that because my parents were heavily involved in the church, and therefore I was as well. My father worked 2 jobs so that my mother could quit her teaching job and raise us full time. I remember at high school time, junior high, my mother sent us on a bus to go to a predominantly white school in the valley so that we can get a better education, and also because there was gang violence going on at our local schools. One of the first stories I remember is after getting off of the bus, going to the store with my friend to get some candy. Coming out of the store, I noticed something shiny in the distance behind the building. And I couldn't quite make out what it was, but then I realized it was the tip of a gun barrel. There was someone trying to hide behind the building, but not doing a really good job at it. And as I was trying to process what was going on, all of a sudden, freeze! Put your hands up. I put my hands up. I was frightened. I was a 13-year-old kid. First time I had a gun in my face. What's going on? But then I realized he's got a policeman uniform on. Now I'm really confused. And he starts yelling at it. Where are you coming from? I tell him where we're coming from. Where are you going? Where do you live? And at the same time, the store owner's running out yelling, it's not them. It's not them. I'm not sure what's going on. He's like, what's your name? Tell him my name. Then he said, what do they call you? It's like, I thought, isn't that the same question? But what I realize is, what do they call you is what they ask gang members. They want to know what's your nickname or your gang name because they might be able to identify you by that. It turns out the store had been robbed earlier that day, and he was responding to the call. And apparently we fit the description of the suspects because we were black men. At the age of 14, I remember crossing the street in the crosswalk, but I didn't make it across in time before the light changed. And next thing I know, there was a policeman on a motorcycle, comes up, woo, asked me the same questions. Where you headed? Where you coming from? Show me your ID. I'm 14, I don't have any ID. He gives me a jaywalking ticket. I know a few people who've gotten jaywalking tickets, and they're all African American men. At the age of 15, I remember sitting in the back seat of the car. So my father's teaching my brother how to drive. We're driving along, and then all of a sudden a police car comes behind us. He follows us for 2, 3 blocks, just stays behind us. Eventually turns on the siren, woo, pulls us over. He politely comes to the car, asks what's going on. My father explains that he's teaching my brother to drive, shows him the permit, and the officer says, oh, okay, well that explains it. And it explains that he pulled us over because we were driving really carefully. So I guess that was suspicious. So what I realized is you can't drive too carefully, you can't jaywalk, and you can't be around when a crime was committed. The next year, I remember going to Taco Bell. Me and my friend Joe were leaving from his house. We decided to race down Crenshaw to go to Taco Bell. Then all of a sudden we hear, woo! The police pull us over. Why are you running? What's your name? Same questions. They ask, what's your name? My friend responds, my name is Joe, sir. What they call you? Well, you could call me Joey if you like. It's like, no, Joe, that's not what he's asking. That's not what he's asking. So I realized I can't run, can't teach my son how to drive, can't jaywalk, can't be around when a crime was committed because I'll be presumed guilty. Next year I realized I can't drive my parents' new Chrysler 5th Avenue because the police will pull me over and illegally search the car for drugs. Multiple times that's happened to me. I realized in going off to college to UCLA that I don't look like a UCLA student. So they pulled me over and embarrassed me in front of all the girls. detained me before letting me go. No crime having been committed in any of these incidents. Moved up to Northern California. Police followed me for 4 or 5 blocks in Campbell before pulling me over. And time after time after time, being belittled, embarrassed, devalued by the police. It's kind of like being bullied in school by the teachers and the principal. I've told this story before, and someone asked me, well, how else are they going to solve the problem? And I asked, well, what problem are they solving? And they said, black on black crime. And I thought about it. I said, well, the neighborhood I grew up in was pretty much all black. And generally, you commit crimes with people you're in proximity to and people you're in relationship with. So therefore, black people are committing crimes with black people. In my predominantly white high school, in that neighborhood is majority white on white crime. In Japan, it's all Japanese on Japanese crime. But yet we don't have terms for that. I remember someone told a story a couple weeks ago about going to the store. And at first I thought it was just a regular story, but then I thought about it in light of what's going on and realized that most people probably can't relate at all to the story he was telling. He talked about going to the store to get some batteries. He looked around, realized they didn't have the batteries that he needed, so he was going to walk out and leave. But then he realized, well, I can't just walk out without buying anything because they're going to assume I stole something. So I better go back and buy something small. So he went to buy it and asked, did he want a bag? He didn't want a big bag for the little item, but he said, I better get a bag because if I walk out with it in my hand, someone will look at me and assume I stole it. And they asked, did he want a receipt? I better take a receipt in case I have to prove I bought it. And that's a common occurrence for me. I always take a receipt. I've been asked to prove that I bought things. I even take a receipt when I get gas. Also, I work at a Fortune 500 company. Sometimes I work late in the evenings. We have a 16-floor building. 2 levels are in the basement of parking. Sometimes in the evening I go to the elevator and there'll be a woman there. Oftentimes they'll look up and fear will come on their face, realizing that just the 2 of us are going to be going down into the basement. Oftentimes they'll look in their purse and realize, ooh, I left my keys. Or they'll, ooh, I better go to the bathroom before the trip, or just something so they won't go down in the elevator with me. Or if they do, they're holding on to their purse tightly because I'm presumed to be a threat because of the color of my skin. I remember when this pandemic first started and we started to wear masks. People had different thoughts and different opinions. I wrote a poem about my thoughts after things started to happen. It says, I wear a mask upon my face, protect me from the bug. But I'll more likely get sprayed with mace, 'cause she mistook me for a thug. Presumption of guilt, presumed to be a threat, growing up as a black man in America. So I hope that this can change, and I hope that maybe you can help.